Welcome back. So, healing is not the opposite of leadership. And I want to say something that I wish more women understood. Healing is not evidence that you're behind, healing is not proof that you're broken. Healing is not something you complete before you are allowed to live your life. Healing is part of living your life. And the truth is, some of the wisest leaders I know are still healing. Some of the most compassionate leaders I know are still healing. Some of the most impactful leaders I know are still healing. It's not because they have all the answers, but because healing has taught them humility. Healing has taught empathy. It has taught perspective. It has taught them how to lead from truth instead of performance. For a long time, I thought leadership required certainty. Now I believe leadership requires honesty, the ability to say, I'm still growing, I'm still learning, and I'm still becoming. And guess what? That's enough. Because the goal isn't perfection, the goal is wholeness, the goal is alignment, the goal is integrity between who you are privately and how you present publicly. And when we stop trying to prove our strength, something beautiful happens. We begin to access a different kind of power. It's a quieter power, a wiser power, a more sustainable power. It's that kind of power that doesn't come from carrying more. It comes from carrying what is yours with grace. So that is what healing and leading has taught me, not how to become invincible. But I used to carry that cape now, but it's taught me how to become more wise. And that's the cape that I carry now. So let's talk about practices that brought me back to myself. Because one of the questions I often get is, okay, Dr. Darcel, where do I start? And the answer is actually simpler than most people expect. You start by paying attention, not judging, not fixing, not forcing, just paying attention. Because the truth is, many of us have become disconnected from ourselves gradually. And reconnection often happens the same way, gradually. One intentional choice at a time is what needs to happen here. And for me, one of the most important practices has been me learning to pause before I respond. Because not every decision requires a long process. But because not every request deserves an immediate answer either, not every opportunity requires an immediate yes. Not every expectation requires my participation, and not every problem requires me to solve it. Oh, I had to learn that. But we need spaces to think, to discern, to choose rather than to react. And another practice that has helped me is asking myself better questions. So instead of asking, can I do this? I ask myself, do I have capacity for this? And instead of asking myself, will this make someone else happy? I now ask myself, is this aligned with who I am becoming? Instead of asking, what will people think? I ask, what's true for me? For me. Those questions have changed the way I move through the world. And they've helped me become more intentional about myself, my life, my projects, more honest, more grounded. And perhaps most importantly, they've really helped me trust myself again. Because healing is not just about feeling better. Healing is about reconnecting to yourself deeply enough that you trust your own voice, your own wisdom, your own discernment. And that doesn't mean you'll always get it right, no ma'am, but it does mean you'll stop looking outside of yourself for permission to honor what you already know. I had to learn that one. And that is a powerful place to live from. So I want to talk about my becoming her moment, navigating my new self. So, as we close today, I want to connect this conversation to my Becoming Her framework, BECOMING, specifically the step I call Navigate New Step, because one of the most challenging parts of healing is realizing that version of who survived many years ago may not be the version who is meant to thrive. Sometimes healing changes how we think. Sometimes changes how you lead, and sometimes it changes your priorities. Sometimes it changes your relationships, and sometimes it changes the way you see yourself. This can feel unsettling because we often spend so much time trying to get back to who we used to be. But what if healing isn't asking you to go back? Healing is inviting you forward. And what if the goal isn't returning to an old version of yourself? What if healing or the goal is learning how to navigate the person you are becoming? See, that's the invitation. Not to return, but to evolve. Not to reclaim who you were, but embrace who you are becoming. So here's a reflection I want to leave you with today. What version of myself am I trying to return to that no longer exists? And what might become possible if I gave myself permission to embrace who I am right now? So this week's prompts are simple but powerful. Ask, what am I carrying that isn't mine? Or have I abandoned myself? What would it look like to become a safe place for myself? And perhaps the most important question, what version of me is asking to emerge in this season? Give yourself permission to answer honestly, not as the person others expect you to be, but as the woman you are becoming. So I want to leave you with this conversation today, and I hope you remember this. Healing is not a pause from your life, healing is a way of returning to it. You do not have to choose between caring for yourself and honoring your purpose. You do not have to choose between healing and leadership. You do not have to wait until everything is perfect before you allow yourself to move forward. The goal is not perfection. The goal is wholeness. The goal is alignment. The goal is becoming a woman who can hold responsibility without losing herself in the process. A woman who can lead without abandoning herself. A woman who can serve without disappearing. A woman who understands that softness and strength are not opposites, they are partners. And as you continue your journey, my hope is that you will learn to extend the same compassion to yourself that you so freely extend to everyone else, because you deserve that too. So until the next time, remember, pause, breathe, listen, trust, and continue becoming. Thank you for joining me for the Power of the Pause. I'm Dr. Darcel Streeter, and I'll see you next time.